Today we're going to be talking about our Prodrive SBX Series, one of our flotation model boats that have been around for quite a few years. And the reason I'm highlighting this boat is the Coast Guard had an exemption for mud boat manufacturers from flotation. That has expired, and we're now required that any boat under 20 foot has to meet full flotation recreational standards. Because you have to float the boat with all the accessories that you have in it, the people weight, it has to float level, and you only have a little bit of lift. Most manufacturers will put foam inside the floor, large flotation pods here, to float these mud motors. These mud motors are very heavy. This mud motor here weighs about 360 pounds. I'm pretty sure other manufacturers is pretty close to that weight. We may be one of the heavier ones, but it still takes a large amount of foam to float these boats. So what happens is you have these foam pods in the back. Well, you lose all that storage. There's no more storage. Your biggest amount of flotation will have to be where the motor's at. When you get to your front deck, you have to put some there so you lose all your front deck storage. So all this foam is liquid foam pumped into these chambers because it saves time. A lot of guys out there, you hear them say, well, over time, this foam is gonna wick water. My experience is it does. And then the boat becomes heavy, all right? And then they wanna try to get rid of it. I'm gonna tell you why this is your better option. Again, our SBX series, which has been around a long time. What we do, and when we first did this boat, we calculated how much the boat would draw in the back with a motor and a person in the back at the water line. And what we did, we actually elevated the floor right above the water line. But to meet Coast Guard requirement, if you would puncture a boat, it has to have foam. We use sheet foam and block foam that does not wick water. All right, so you'll never have to worry about this foam soaking up any water. That's one thing I wanted to stress about the difference in my foam versus what everybody else is using. In the back, I have some 2x5 holes in the back of the hull, and I have a tray. And you have scuppers in the back. They are not checks. It's just a duck bill, what they call. It's just a piece of vinyl, and it's stitched. All that does is keep splashing water from coming back into your boat. Having this boat floor at the water line allows it to self-bail without any means of a bilge pump or anything. And it's just gonna naturally evacuate out of these scuppers. All right, let's say in a safety situation, all right? You out there, nobody leaves in bad weather, or they shouldn't, but you're in an open lake, you encounter rough weather, you start taking on water. In a boat that meets Coast Guard standards, that has the pods in the back, like most manufacturers do, it's only gonna float right at the water line. That's all it's required to do, right at the gunnel. You're not gonna bail that out in waves. The boat's gonna be up, you'll be able to hold on to it. If it's cold, you're gonna be wet. If I take a wave, I can still go under power. It'll bail on its own. I start giving it gas, it's gone. And it's going right out the floor. Now, instead of having these float pods in the back, still have all your options available to you. You can still have every option you ever had on your X Series or your timber deck. You have your rear seat with storage, you have your multi-box with storage, you can have another one, you have your front deck storage. So all the standard options that you got on the X Series and the timber deck, you still get with this boat without having the intrusive float pods. So in closing, what I'd like to say is that this meets the Coast Guard's recreational standards in the least intrusive way possible, and it's truly what I believe is the best option for safety and utilizing all the storage that you can.